All right, we are back on College Football Addiction. I've got Brian from Clemson Football Live joining us right now to talk about this Florida State Clemson matchup. Certainly not the matchup we thought it would be heading into this season. We talked about this over on your show, but man, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining me.
I'm doing good. I've survived the storm of Hurricane Helene. I mean, there's trees down everywhere, but I'm here. I'm in one piece, and it's always good to be on the show.
I appreciate it a ton. Our thoughts and prayers to anybody impacted by this. Obviously, football doesn't matter a lot compared to what a lot of folks are dealing with, and so certainly don't want to make football seem like it's as big of a deal as what you're going through, but maybe this will provide you a nice 10, 15-minute distraction from that. But our thoughts and prayers are certainly with you if you're in those areas that impacted. I know that a lot of people that support Clemson are up in that area, in the Carolinas and such, and so our prayers and our thoughts are with you for sure, and your families and homes that may be impacted. But talking a little bit about football, man, yeah, not the matchup we thought we would be getting. But let's talk about Clemson. Like, you know, I from time to time I do tune into Josh Pate, and he says we talk about winners first. And so let's talk about the team that will probably win this game and certainly has had a more winning season so far this year. Clemson feels like they're finding their groove. You know, obviously after the Georgia game, they've had a few games where they have certainly come out and dominated and taken care of business the way they need to. You certainly kind of wonder about quality of opponent. And, you know, I don't know if the quality of opponent question will be answered this week either, but I do think that Clemson is doing what you need to do against lesser opponents. And they are absolutely, they look like a force again. Like they look like, and everybody would bet Clemson right now to make the ACC championship. What's the mood around Clemson right now after the last few weeks?
There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope among the Clemson faithful. Now, I'm enjoying seeing the offense open up. I'm seeing passes downfield. I'm seeing better offensive line play, which is key. I'll touch more on that in just a moment. But there's a lot of hope. But if you watch my channel, you know, one of my key statements that ticks off everyone is hope is not a football strategy. Hope is great when you're sick. Hope is great when a hurricane sweeps through the area and takes 100-year-old oak trees and throws it in the middle of a home. Okay, we need hope then. Football is a game of strategy, and what we saw Clemson do in week one was come out and play scared against a team because they were, I don't know what their strategy was. But anyway, in the next 3 weeks, they opened up a can. Now, I agree with you 100%, TJ, that the quality of opponent has to be considered here, like majorly. But another one of my mottos is beat a bad team bad. And that's what Clemson has done. I was so afraid that Clemson was going to go back into their shell. They were going to start worrying about, oh, no, you know, we got beat week one, the season's over, and, you know, woe is me. But they've really shown a lot of moxie on the offensive side. If you've seen some points that were given up, you're like, wow, NC State did score certain amount of points against them. Well, that was against I think our athletic director even played in that game. I mean, at the half, Clemson was beating NC State 45-7. Tennessee beat them 51-10 overall. So it was 45-7, and I mean there was cheerleaders that were playing. There was a World War II vet that's still alive. He got out there on his walker. He played against State. So my point is, we did give up points there, but you got to think about who was playing. It's good to see good offensive line play. Our offensive line still has a lot to improve on, but we're seeing K given more time, more protection. So he's not having to force the ball into double and triple coverage. Yes, Clemson fans, he did that last year. Triple coverage, I saw it multiple times. Throwing the ball back across his shoulder, all the way across the field, and a little Charleston Southern picking it off and running it back and looking like Deion Sanders with the Falcons back in the early 90s. So it's nice to see the offense get better, play better, more aggressiveness, more yardage, and in turn, the most important part, more points.
So this weekend, playing an opponent in Tallahassee that has been limping through the season, a quarterback change. Obviously, you know, I probably know better than most. A quarterback change of a quarterback that's certainly not proven. Has played in 3 games. Honestly, I don't know why Mike Norvell continues to give. I do know why. He's been forced to do it due to injury, but Brock Glenn's 3 starts are in the ACC championship against Georgia in a game where everybody opted out, and now against Clemson, a top team in college football as well. So certainly trial by fire, and he certainly has the experience of playing really good teams. But you're going into Tallahassee, and I don't think this is a situation where, I don't think this is a situation where Dabo is going to let up. And I don't think this is a situation where Dabo is going to call the dogs off early out of respect or anything like that for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's important to reestablish dominance in the ACC. And two, I think they're a little bit annoyed at the way that things happened in week 1 and want to remind everybody that they are for real. So I don't think there's going to be any kind of slowing down in Tallahassee. Now, maybe in the fourth quarter, much like NC State game, maybe that's where they would try and get some young guys some reps. But I think Dabo is approaching this as like, yeah, we're going to make a statement this weekend in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson, Florida State. That's all you have to say. Just stop and think about that, Florida State fans, Clemson fans, and you can think about moments that Florida State absolutely beat Clemson like redheaded stepchildren. I mean, especially in the 90s, you talked about 2013 was it? There's those moments. Turn around. Clemson gets their revenge. Clemson gets their first win against Florida State since Florida State joined the ACC. I was at that game. My very first Clemson game was Florida State at Clemson. Danny Cannell was playing quarterback. Warwick Dunn was playing running back. I could stop there. That's not this game. This is a different vibe. Clemson has won their last 3 games and put up an offensive explosion. And I'm going to tick off some people, but here we go. Here I go stirring the hive. We do have to consider that we have not played that great of opponents, but it's good to see that we're winning. And we go into this game and we have a lot to prove, TJ. Clemson has a lot to prove. There is no reason that Clemson should lose one more game the rest of this regular season. Go look at our schedule. So if we're truly improving, for me, it's not about Clemson and Florida State, though it is. It's about proving to everyone we are truly getting better. Our offense is not just throwing up astronomical numbers against lesser talent. And the next time we play a giant, we get our head beat in. That is where I'm at with Clemson. I'm going to enjoy the moment, but this game, Clemson has to come out and they have to prove their dominance. They have to prove their dominance. They cannot walk into this game going, oh, this is Florida State from 1993. It's not. Florida State is going to come out, and I believe y'all are going to, I think we're going to see the kitchen sink here. Why? Because you have nothing to lose. And I've said this before. When you play someone who has nothing to lose, their season has been decimated. If you can get your team to believe, if you can get your coaching staff to believe, and you'll go out there and you'll execute just for this one moment, you could put a damper on this season, even if Clemson can reach the ACC championship because of their schedule. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. You said it on my channel, and I'll repeat it here. Man, that would be a blemish for Clemson. That would have a lot of people scratching their head going, hold on, you lose to Georgia. Okay, kind of understand that. You got beat by Florida State? What happened there? I thought you were back. So I think there's a lot going on here for the Tigers, a lot of opportunity to make a statement and continue moving forward. And for Florida State, this would just be a great time to, crash the party.
Florida State's defensive line, I wouldn't call it the brightest spot, but there have been times where their defensive line and the playmakers on that D-line have looked pretty good. And I think if Florida State's going to have any success, any chance at success in this game, obviously you're going to have to take care of the ball with a very young quarterback, and you're going to have to block Clemson somewhat well to do that. But if you're going to have any chance, I honestly think that Florida State's defensive line has to wreck this game. Like Pat Payton and Josh Farmer, and they have in times past, last year, the sack, I guess, came from a linebacker, but the defensive line played fairly well in the game to kind of limit Clemson. I mean, even going back to 2021 when the game was up there, Jermaine Johnson kind of went off in that game and kept that game super close. He had the strip sack, the Holy Trinity, right? The strip, the sack, and the recovery for a touchdown. And so, to me, they're going to need monster performances from their defensive line, which they are capable of. They haven't always proven it this year, but there have been times where they've gotten after it. They've done a good job. That to me is where it comes down to is if there's an area that Florida State can exploit, it is that. And it is trying to take advantage of that offensive line and getting after Cade. Cade has looked much different when he's under pressure as opposed to when he has time to sit back there in the pocket. If you give him time to sit back in the pocket, I think Clemson will score 50. 40 plus, right? We'll say that. But if you can get after him and you can kind of hurry him, that's where they like their defensive backs. Like Florida State likes some parts of their defense, but it all kind of comes down to that pressure up front. And if they can kind of impact that offensive line, impact Cade's timing, they'll have a chance to keep it close. And certainly, you're not even going to say they could win at that point. But that, to me, that's the matchup of the game: is can the defensive line wreak enough havoc to get in there, make Cade uncomfortable, and keep it close?
I mean, Cade has thrown for nearly 1,000 yards, 73 of 110, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. A lot of people really don't realize how fast he is. I mean, he has a 100-meter time coming out of high school that was actually quite incredible, and we've seen more of that speed. But if I were Florida State, right? If I was Florida State, I would go after this guy. I would go after him. I would say, hey, listen, I'm not buying it. I watched the Georgia game. We have nothing to lose. I would go after him and try to get him off balance early. The key this year is that the offensive line, led by new hire Matt Luke, is looking a lot better. Yep. And so that's the key. You talked about 2021. There was a quarterback that played in that game. I can't remember who that was. They ended up I was there because I was screaming. DJ not playing in this game. I think it takes some of the air out of it for Clemson fans because we wanted to see that. Sure. I wanted to see Clemson play against DJ, but he felt the pressure of your defensive line. Your defensive line, as over the years, has just had some great names on it. I mean, going all the way back to the 90s I was talking about, and even before that, I think about Peter Boulware and Renard Wilson, and you could just keep going. But for me, I would say, I would look at Cade and say, I'm happy for your recent success, but we still don't buy it, and we're going to go after you. So that would be a good test for Clemson's offensive line as well, is for just challenging his development. Have you really progressed? So I think you're hitting on something there.
Yeah, I think they need to be very multiple with their blitzes. I think they need to bring a lot of pressure a lot of the time, and that will be the path to keeping it close. You need to win the turnover battle, which is tough to think that they could do with a redshirt freshman. Not only is he a redshirt freshman, he was a third stringer last year and spent the majority of the season hurt with a broken hand. And so, he's not even really like a redshirt freshman. I mean, he is, but he hasn't even really had that full year of development, taking third string reps when he was in and then being hurt for most of the year as well with a broken hand. It's hard to think that Florida State could win that turnover battle, but to me, they've got to force mistakes, even if it's not turnovers, like, third and long, they got to get off the field. They're not very good at getting off the field on third down. Mm-hmm. They got to get after Cade and really bring a lot of pressure for them to have a chance. So, I know it's kind of early in the week. We've kind of broken this down. We talked about the spread in this, opened up at like 14 all the way up to 16 plus now. I think it'll continue to move. Wouldn't shock me at all if it's over 17 by the time the thing kicks off. Do you have a lean in this? I think you don't have to be nice to me. I think Clemson's going to cover this. But do you have a lean in this? How do you think this thing ends up finishing out? Do you think some of the hype around Clemson is real? Like, do they win this thing kind of going away?
Current history means something, right? But then you always have to look at what's been happening over the past few years. Even with different offensive coordinators, you have to consider that. And so for me, I want to look at recent history and say, hey, 3 straight games, 40 points plus, setting records, over 700 total yards against App State, beating NC State's head in, putting up 59 on them. We could have easily put up 100. Stanford, I think, is actually a better football team than what a lot of people realizes. I think that program, if they can keep on their trajectory and stay on that path, they may shock some people. But they play Clemson well, but Clemson still put up 40 on. I want to say that yes, Clemson's going to come out and put up 40 or 50 points on Florida State, and this is just going to be a yawner, But I just still want them to prove it to me. I'm not going to be like some of our Miami fan brethren out there who's already clearing out space for a national championship down in Hard Rock Stadium. That's if the Dolphins will let them, because they've also proven in the recent past that they can blow it. And so should Clemson come in and score 40 points and hold you guys to like 14? Absolutely. I'm just holding my breath and I'm going to wait and see. I lean towards yes, they definitely cover.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards it too. It's weird to me that the spread is that low. I don't know if like Vegas knows something that we don't. I think the spread should be like 20-ish, just to be very fair with you. And I love Florida. Like that is signed by Bobby Bowden. Those are game worn cleats. Like I love Florida State. Like I don't, I'm not a hater. It's weird to me that the spread is as low as it is. I'm not typically one to bet on against my own team. Like there's plenty of other games that I could go out there and try and make, try and lose money on. But that's weird to me. I think it should be 20 plus. And but I said that about NC State too. Like I thought the NC State line was weird. And so we'll see. I do think Clemson covers at this point. I think it would be a very narrow path to a Florida State victory. I think a Florida State victory would be, you may agree with this. A Florida State victory this weekend would be more about Clemson blowing it than Florida State going out and winning it. And that's a testament to where both programs are right now. Brian, where can people follow you? Where can they find more of your content, more of your work?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Clemson Football Live. Let me know that you saw me over here. Let me know. Even though I'm surrounded by the Clemson garb here, I talk about a lot of other football teams as well. So I appreciate you having me on. It's always a fun time over here.
Yeah, I appreciate you for joining. We'll link all that in the description. Appreciate you, Brian, a ton, and good luck. I don't know how much you need it, but good luck this weekend. We will maybe we'll catch up with you on Sunday after the game, and recap it, or maybe we'll figure it out. But I'll hit you up and we'll do something again.
Absolutely, and I look forward to it. Good luck to you guys.
Thanks, buddy.